Marshal Crews, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is wonderful. This is beautiful, beautiful set you have put together.
How important is creativity in your life?
Creativity is the reason I roll out of bed every day. Creativity is one of the few natural things that gives me dopamine, and I believe it exists within the kind of like passion area of my purpose. I believe purpose is kind of like a dynamic combination of, passion, proficiency, and, the ability to solve a problem. And I feel like my creativity gives me the opportunity to solve problems in a proficient way and an efficient way that, does so and helps other people. And it fulfills me. It makes me happy. It makes me feel, like I've done something. You know what I mean? So creativity is of utmost importance in my life.
When you say it fills the passion piece of your purpose, unpack purpose a little bit for me and why you've split it up into different categories.
For me, purpose is a lot of. I think the common perception of purpose is kind of like a static objective, an objective that we reach or achieve. And I believe purpose to be more of a fluid dynamic, right? It's more of a state of being, and that state of being is defined by the combination of, passion, proficiency, and the ability to solve a problem. I believe it is pulled from a Japanese concept called ikigai. And ikigai consists of 4 components, and I believe those 4 components are: what do you love? What are you good at? Does the world need it? And does it make money? And for me, the money part of that is kind of out of the equation. Like, yes, money is good. Money's a tool, right? But for me, it's more about what I love, what I'm good at, and what problem it solves, right? Does the world need it? Is it a reason to exist? So for me, sitting in that kind of dynamic of like, okay, doing something that I love doing, that I'm good at doing, that also helps people. That is where my purpose lies. And I believe that's kind of like why when I think about creativity and my purpose and how it relates, I think, okay, passion is a huge part of that. And then proficiency, using creativity specifically in an arena that you feel you are, well equipped to use it, and then using it for something that does some good for other people or the world in general.
Yeah. Purpose isn't a destination.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something we can arrive at. In fact, how horrifying is the thought of arriving at it, because then you have nothing to strive towards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think purpose is something that you ever achieve.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it gets more powerful the closer you get towards it, because you get more clear on what you like and what you don't like. But thinking that it's some destination that we arrive at is wanting a lie, because I think even if that would be the case, that would be a very unfulfilling place to be, because then what's next?
Yeah, not only is it unfulfilling, but it's discouraging. It's discouraging to, feel you've never arrived and feel that you aren't there. But when you're there, right there, you're there right now. You're here. I'm here right now. You're here right now. And that is wherein, lies your purpose. So I think that, understanding that is really, really, really important, specifically when, pulling fulfillment from life and like, seeking fulfillment specifically. So
do you think that's a big reason why you dropped out of college to start a clothing brand?
Yes, for sure. I believed that college was just a poor use of my time. I felt I possessed skills and gifts that were better used off campus. And I felt that spending my time working towards something that I knew would not guarantee me fulfillment, happiness, or security financially was just a poor use of time. And it's not a poor use of time for everyone. I believe some people need that structure. I believe that some people need, the world needs doctors, right? And in terms of careers that require very, very semantic, mechanical knowledge, it is a huge necessity. But for me specifically, my way of doing things is very fluid, and it's not one way or another, and it never will be, which is why I believe creative endeavors, are most suited to me. And I believe that, they're, for most people who are creative, like, I don't believe that a structured, this is how you do it, this is 100% the way you do it, or the way you don't do it, like a correct and incorrect way. I believe that is not well suited for creatives at all, which is why most creatives don't excel in college. They don't excel in school. Many people that you hear about, some of the most respected creatives dropped out or, performed very poorly. So,
yeah. I don't know. I look at this piece of college for creatives just as you're processing that there. It's not really allowing any room for magic to happen, and that's where the creativity thrives. It's processing in my mind now. Like, there's so much structure, and oftentimes the creativity comes when you have no structure and you have so much space to invite whatever in and see where it comes. And I guess that's, that pivot for creativity. And oftentimes I find, the most creative thoughts I ever have is when I've actually, they talk about shower thoughts and things like this. It's because you're actually there. Like, you're not distracted. You're not kind of, you're not kind of elsewhere in the moment. You're actually here.
You're not inhibited by boundaries, essentially. I believe that creativity in general is more or less limited by boundaries in the beginning, because you're limited by your taste, you're limited by your level of consumption, you're limited by funds, you're limited by resources, you're limited by lots of things. And I think that every creative person should seek to remove those limits. I believe one of the bigger limits for most creatives is fear of perception and fear of disappointment in specific people, their families, their friends, the people that they, source approval from. And I believe that I think that removing those as fast as possible should be like top priority for most creative people.
Was that a big driver for you leaving college? Was that quite a hard thing?
No, it wasn't hard. For me, leaving college was not hard, because for me, leaving college was it was extermination of boundaries. It was getting rid of a boundary that I felt held me back, and it was getting rid of something that I felt, took a lot of my energy that I could have put towards doing something that I felt lied within my purpose, right? Like within the, the dynamic of passion, proficiency, and, good for the world.
How was that transition? Like, was it well supported by the people around you?
No.
No?
No. I mean, nobody sees your perspective, right? I grew up, in the Southeast, and growing up in the Southeast and the traditional part of the United States, the Bible Belt, you are not encouraged to take the fluid path, to take the creative path. You're encouraged to take the structured path, the proven path, right? The one that your dad did, and one of his granddad took, and his granddad took. You know what I mean? And so for me, whenever I made the decision to do that, I actually immediately moved to like across the country, because you can't be effective in an environment where, the other active members are not aligned with your goals and what you feel your purpose to be.
I feel like there's a lot of people that are stuck in that spot, though. In fact, most people probably have that thought of leaving or doing something, but then they never do. And it just, they just stay in the exact same spot. It's a weird frame for me to even comprehend, because I just sit there and I go, like, you don't like your life, but you are choosing to stay in the life.
Yeah, I mean, it's fear of discomfort, fear of uncertainty, and that's understandable. It's always scary walking into a dark room, And that's essentially what leaving is. When you're leaving the comfort of your family, the roof over your house, your parents' house, right? Like your friends, the people that you're stepping into a dark room, and looking for the door that leads to the next. And that is the life of an entrepreneur, an independent-minded person, a thought leader, a creative in general.
What did the first few steps look like when you first embarked on that and started building out your brand, and what did life look like back then?
For me, it was discovery. Discovery was the first steps. I believe that the creative process is when creating a product, for example, the creative process typically starts with discovery, right? And discovery is essentially, just becoming aware of what is on the table, right? What is there for the taking? What is there to consume, and what is there to learn from? And for me, I was homeschooled, so I was not around people my age. I wasn't around anybody but my siblings, my parents, and one or two people from my church, right? So for me, the start of everything was discovery. So it was going out and trying things and going to new places and becoming, socially experienced in a way, because I wasn't socially experienced from a kid. I mean, I was a very, very troubled kid. I was very angry. And I dealt with a lot of things of that nature, and it prohibited me from being able to interact with people or form bonds, specifically with parentals. And that caused a lot of issues that led to me being withheld from society as a child, right? So for me, the first part of all of it was discovery.
Why do you feel like you were angry?
I was angry because I was... as a child, I was moved around a lot. So, my first mom, Tracy, she was unfit to parent. She had a lot of issues with substance abuse, and she was unfit to parent. So I bounced around a little bit between, friends of the family, aunts and uncles, things of that nature. And in your developmental years, those early years, that uncertainty and that instability of, a parental figure or a leadership figure provides a lot of resentment towards kind of any authority at all. So for me, I had something called reactive attachment disorder, and it basically prevents you from forming a bond at all of any kind, really, with anyone, specifically an authoritarian figure. So for me, I believe that's where most of the anger came from.
When you say first mom, what do you mean?
So when I was born to a woman named Tracy, and she passed whenever I was 5 due to skin cancer. And then I was adopted whenever I was 5 into a new family. And that was like, the woman I call mother, the woman I call mom. And yeah, she was awesome.
Yeah. I think it's interesting looking at those like formative years as a child. Is there any vivid memories that you have from back then?
I don't have many, to be honest. I don't have many, and I think that my mind has suppressed many of them, simply because my childhood isn't a fun thing to talk about. There's not a lot of bright moments. There's not a lot of positive things to reflect on, and I'm a very in the now type of person. And I think that for me, reminiscing and kind of things of that nature are just not they're not pleasant for me, so I don't practice them very often, which is, okay, and I probably should. I should probably go to therapy. Never been to therapy, but I should probably go to therapy. I should probably, dig into a lot of that stuff, and I've been able to in my own way, right? But I do my best to focus on now. Yeah,
I think that's productive, right? I think as long as it's not affecting your life in the now massively, then it's probably productive to look at it, how to kind of move forward and look ahead and look at what's happening in life. If it's showing up regularly, then that's when it's probably like, oh, maybe we should open that can of worms. It's a little bit confronting, just so we can actually move forward freely, in a sense. What about the disease you said? What was the?
Well, it's just a like a behavioral thing. Yeah. It's called RAD. It's RAD. It's not rad, though.
It's not rad.
It's not rad. It's actually, it sucks.
Unpack this thing around not being able to have relationships with authoritative positions, people that maybe are looking down on you in a sense. Have you unpacked that and how is that growing up? Because obviously when you're a kid, most people are an authority.
Well, the rehabilitation for reactive attachment disorder is allegedly excessive structure to a level that many would call borderline abusive. And as a child, that excessive structure for me took form in a lot of ways that I look back and don't appreciate. But I do believe that structure to some level contributed to my dissolving of that kind of emotional issue that I had. And I think that in the same way that, an uncontrollable man becomes controlled by the military, right? Like time in the military, it's like time and structure. That's it. You know what I mean? I believe that structure in general is required for, an ambitious, anti-authoritarian, anarchist type of person, and I believe that I definitely was that type of person, for sure.
But then you also said that there was things you did that you weren't proud of due to the structure?
Not things that I did, things that my parents did, and, they were doing what they thought was best, and so I hold no resentment towards them for that. But it's not pretty. And if you look into the rehabilitative efforts for reactive attachment disorder, it's not pleasant. I mean, I won't go too deep into it, but it's a lot of isolation. It's a lot of isolation. It's a lot of restriction. It's a lot of. It's not normal life. It's not normal life. It's like boot camp in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess if you can't even get along with people as well, that would be isolating in itself, let alone having to be isolated from people and already feel isolated. It's kind of like a negative feedback loop. You don't get along with anyone, then you're told you're not allowed to be with anyone. So then you are reinforced that you're alone, and then you just kind of go down this spiral. I mean, I've never even heard about this before, but I would imagine that's what it would have been like, right?
Yes. And it feels very much like a dead end. You go from hating your authority to hating them even more and even more and even more, to then questioning, okay, is it them or is it me? And then you abandon that and go back to hating the authority. And I think that over time, with the relief of that kind of restrictive environment, I was able to really kind of just let go of the resentment and start to really form those relationships, which I'm very grateful for.
When did things really start to change?
Things really started to change whenever I went to college. So I went to college when I was 16. Where I'm from, I grew up in Georgia and Florida. And if you score high enough on tests, you can kind of just skip the last 2 years of high school and go straight to college. And it's paid for. It's awesome. It was called dual enrollment. And since then, I believe most states have lowered the funding for it because it is very expensive for the state. And so for me, I went straight to college when I was 16. And I went from being homeschooled with no social interaction to going to a college environment as a 16-year-old kid, spending all day on campus. And I think the time spent with other people and the time spent away from my home and away from my family, specifically my mom, is what really caused the shift and the catalyst that really changed my life was when my mom passed when I was 17. So that was like a year and a half after I went to college.
Why did that change everything for you?
Well, for me, it was just a shocking event. It was something that I never thought I'd feel. I never thought I'd experience. I never thought it was even like a realistic thing. I mean, horrible things happen to everybody. Horrible things happen to people every day, much worse than what I've endured. But for me, that was just such a catalytic event that just shook me. It shook me. And I sat in a daze for a year, I think, just questioning everything and questioning myself and, blaming myself. And I don't know, I think that whole thing really just shook me to a level that, I don't know, it's so hard to describe. Like a traumatic event like that can just do unexplainable things to you and your mind. And I believe that a lot of the top performers of our time are top performers because they have endured trauma that conditioned them to withstand minor trials and, the first world problems that lots of people complain about. And I don't know. I think that going through such a traumatic event really just it's almost like it accelerated the growth of my frontal lobe. You know what I mean? It's super weird to talk about or think about because of how impactful it was in my life. Like, I don't think that if it hadn't happened, I would be here. I think I would be not here. I don't think I'd be alive.
Why did you blame yourself?
I blamed myself because I was driving the car. So, it was about 6 o'clock in the morning. Me and my mom were driving to a city nearby, about 30 minutes away. I was about to buy a drum set on Facebook Marketplace, and making that drive, I was driving. 17. We just got this car, that we went half in on the money and everything, and I was driving, and me and my mom were having a great conversation, talking about my younger sister, Jocelyn, and talking about how much growth she had had and how much we loved her. And in an instant, I don't really know what happened. I believe we know what happened after the police reports and everything. But basically, the car something snapped in the front end. I believe it was the axle, and the car turned on a dime and just started flipping at about 70, 75, 80 miles an hour. And it landed upside down. I was not harmed at all, and my mom died on impact. So, that moment of experiencing that and walking around the car and holding my mom's hand, like just watching the blood pour from her head, and just I wasn't even there. Like, I wouldn't accept it. I was there by myself in the dark, just trying to flip the car over. Obviously I couldn't do that, or do anything. Couldn't find my phone. It was very, it's hard to to even think about or talk about, but it was very impactful to my life, and it shook me and it woke me up, and it really, really rocked me in a good way. In a good way.
Why in a good way?
Because my mom was the strongest person I know. I mean, my mom battled cancer before I was born, breast cancer, and she obviously fought it off. She's again, a really, really strong person. And after that, my mom created a book. She wrote a book with her friend Lucy Barlow. It's called My Chemo Cocktail and I, and it's essentially a book to offer support to chemotherapy patients. And her whole thing was that she wanted to give people what she wished she had had. And for me, that purpose carried over into my life. And I believe it was my role to pick up that torch that she held and to follow suit and do the same thing. And that's why I do everything I do today. every business that I've created, it is to help the younger version of myself and to provide the younger version of myself with what I wished that I had had and what I felt would have saved me from pain or discomfort or, trials of many kinds.
You said for the year following that incident, you were in shock and froze and in a state that was not fun. What did the next 12 months look like after that?
So the 12 months after my mom passed, it was like the best way I can describe it is shell shock. It was like post-apocalyptic in a way. Our family was very, very, very torn. She was the rock of the household. She was the leader. She was the head of the household in a way. And not having her there was very confusing for myself, for my younger brother, for my younger sisters, for my dad. My dad was obviously, a mess and, obviously distraught from losing his wife 20 years, you know what I mean? And my siblings, I can't even imagine what they were going through. Probably something similar to what I went through. And for us, we just didn't know how to live life without mom. She was the one who was kind of like putting everything together. She made the wheels go around, in our family. And so not having her there changed a lot of things. And I believe that our family it crumbled in a way whenever she passed. And, my dad, obviously was affected negatively, and there were some decisions made on his part, in removing me from the family and removing me from that environment that affected me for sure for the next several years. And that is, that's really where my life changed, was when my dad said, you have to go.
Why did that change?
Because I had nothing. I had no one. I had no money. I had no car. I had no girlfriend. My girlfriend broke up with me at that time too. I had no family. I had the people from my church who were kind enough to lend me a room in their attic for a little bit after my dad pushed me out of the house. And but when you lose everything, life changes. When you lose everything, you become a different person. When you lose your security, when you lose the only source of support, love, and encouragement that you have, life becomes very interesting very quickly. And it became that way for me. And it was an interesting walk. It was an interesting walk, to say the least.
How far out of that hole do you feel like you are now?
I believe I'm getting there. Not all the way back. I'm not all the way there, but I'm much, much further along than I should be. And I believe that my mom's passing played a large role in my ability to climb out of that hole. And I believe that my mom, being the person that she was in general, played a large role in climbing out of that hole. And without her and the purpose that she relayed to me, I don't believe I'd be where I am today. I believe that I've been able to live in alignment with my purpose better than most, which I'm very, very grateful for. And I believe that I'm getting there. That's all. That's the best way I can put it. I'm getting there.
Yeah. It's so funny hearing these stories, right? Where, like, speaking with high achievers, realizing that for the most part, they've all just gone through some gnarly story. Mm-hmm. They've all just gone through some extreme challenge. Mm-hmm. Like, you hear that, right? And I don't even need to ask you the question of what's your biggest drive. You've just answered it, right? And you just go like, people ask all the time, how do you be so driven? How are you so motivated? Like, what are all of the tips and tricks you can teach me to be able to spring out of bed in the morning? And the answer's simple. It's like, go through more shit. and your life will get easier.
Yeah.
Like it's like you won't drive. You haven't been through enough pain.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't been alone. You haven't been isolated. You're too comfortable. Of course, you don't have drive.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's one of those stories where you hear the most extreme things, and that's the reason that you get out of bed, and that's the reason that you build such a big business, and that's the reason that you're striving towards all the things that you have. And as you said before, perhaps if none of that was part of your experience, you wouldn't be that driven person that you are today.
Mm-mm. I believe when God builds a man, he puts him through difficult things. Because if you were to have a child today, all right, you got a son, and you want that son to have specific traits. Let's say honesty, patience, for example. Would you give him what he wants right away all the time? No, right? So when God builds a man for a big purpose, I believe that this man has to undergo a season of conditioning. And this conditioning is productive. This conditioning is divinely gifted. And this conditioning should be embraced and somewhat romanticized, and it should be maximized. And whenever things get hard, things get difficult, and you experience levels of uncertainty and discomfort and pain, I believe it's important to really feel it, to think about it, to feel it, to prolong it in a way, and to enjoy it. Because I've learned from my experience, whenever you move out of that stage where God put you through pain in order to teach you a lesson, you look back with so much gratitude, and you look back with so much gratitude knowing that you came out of it learning this lesson and acquiring this skill and acquiring this ability or whatever. And it's nice knowing that God is just preparing you. He's preparing you for something greater. And that understanding is where you find comfort. That understanding is where you gain comfort in a situation where there's no comfort offered.
Do you think the comfort comes from trust?
The comfort comes from trust and the knowledge that you really aren't in control, and that you really are just a human being, and that you are not perfect, and that it's going to look messy. It's going to be chaotic. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs. There's going to be a lot of fuck ups, but that's what builds a man. What builds a man is not a perfect story. When have you ever heard of a high achiever saying, "Oh, like my life's always been perfect. There's never been anything going wrong." You know what I mean? Like every hero, they're a hero for a reason. They're a hero because they didn't start a hero. They weren't a hero from the beginning. God carved them into a hero, into an impactful human being, and that carving is what makes the story good. And the understanding that the carving and the hurt and the pain is what makes the story good. Because otherwise, if I had no story, if I came on here and I was like, "Oh yeah, my life's been great, everything's been perfect," what else would you have to say? So what's that like? You know what I mean? Like there would be no story.
Why don't you like talking about it? You mentioned at the start you don't really like opening the can of worms very much. Why do you not feel like doing that at all, ever?
Because I never want to push a narrative, a victim narrative. I never want to push a victim narrative. I will never be a victim.
That's the answer.
I will never be a victim, and I will never give anyone the opportunity to label me as a victim, because that excuses inaction. It excuses negative habits. It excuses anything bad, and I don't want an excuse. I don't want a way out of bad things. I don't want to get out of jail free card. I want a standard to uphold, and I believe that, without the correct frame, presentation of trauma, often gives people that kind of get out of jail free card. And I don't want the get out of jail free card. I want to be upheld to this standard no matter what I've been through, no matter what's happened in my life, because it's not my job to make excuses. It's not my job to say, oh, well, poor me because of this and this and this. It's my job to do what God put me here to do in spite of, right? It's my job to ascend in spite of whatever, right? So that's why I don't like bringing it up, because I don't like the, oh, I'm so sorry. No, do not be sorry for me. I'm grateful to have experienced these things, because I know and I'm aware that these difficulties and the pain is necessary. It's necessary. It's what I need. God put me here to lead. He put me here to do good for the previous version of myself, for my past self, right? Because I know I'm not the only one who's been through difficult things. I know I'm not the only one who spent a large majority of their life angry. You know, I know I'm not the only one who felt they were dealt a bad hand, right? And it is my purpose. It is what I believe my purpose is to bring encouragement to those men and women. And so for me, that encouragement doesn't, like, excuses and victim shit don't fit into that. It doesn't work.
Yeah. How's your relationship with God been, and what impact has that made on you going through this journey?
Well, when you lose everybody and you lose everything, you've got nothing to lean on but God, right? I mean, when you're completely alone, you have no money, you have no resources, you have no advantages, you have nothing to lean on but Christ. So for me, you know, I grew up in a Christian home, right? But when that home was taken from me, I had nothing to lean on but God, right? So for me, it was like God is the only reason I'm here. You know what I mean? God's the only reason that my head didn't hit the concrete when I flipped that car, right? And because of that, like, God, I owe my life to God. Like, I don't own my life anymore. It's not my life. It's God's life, you know? So his purpose is, you know, first priority for me.
How do you arrive there for someone maybe that doesn't believe in God, or that, you know, struggles to resonate with what you just said about you don't own your life and God does? Like, do you know, or do you understand a path of arriving at the state that you're in now where you can put your life towards Christ?
Well, the way I like to think about it is, you know, we're all writing a story, right? Every person is writing a story of their life, right? And everybody thinks that they know best. Everybody's human flesh nature thinks that they know best, and that they're the ones with the goals. They know where they want to be in 10 years. They know what, like, the perfect life looks like, right? But I want you to imagine how many bones are in your body, how many organs are in your body, how many ligaments and blood vessels and veins are in your body, and how somehow they all work together to make you a functioning human being. And I want you to also think about the fact that as a human being, you're the only being species that possesses the neocortex and the parts of your brain that allow you to not only, you know, perform basic bodily functions, right, which is the, you know, responsibility of the basal ganglia, right, which is the reptilian part of your brain, but also have emotions, right, which is what the limbic system is responsible for, but also think and make critical decisions and communicate, right, in an extensive way, right, and also collect knowledge and then use that knowledge, right, which is what, you know, the neocortex, like the computer part of your brain, is responsible for. And now I want you to put all that into perspective and think about how much smarter the person who made all that happen has to be than you. So to think that you can write a better ending to your story, to think that you can write a better plot to your story than the person who made all of that possible, That's dumb. Why would I think that? Like, no, like, you got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, God, you know way better than me. You got it. You got it. I'm sure you have a far better ending, a far better purpose, a far better plot than I do. So you write my story, right? I don't know. That's how I would think about it.
When you put it that way.
I mean, what are you supposed to, how else do you, like, come on now. Like, I could never do any of that shit, man. Like, God is just genuinely there's just no way. Like, any person, you think about it like that, if to take the stance of like, oh yeah, no, I know better. That's just dumb. That's just stupid. So like, for me, I break it down to like a logical thing. Like, not only has God done tons of things in my life and done things for me that I could never do for myself, but just thinking about that scenario is like, whoa, like, I'm really just a human being, and I'm a tool, you know what I mean, for God's will, and I believe everybody is to a degree, right? And I think that there's so many like, people who have like this like selfish way of thinking and this way of thinking of like, it's all about them, it's all about me. And I just think that in that perspective, you can no longer think like, oh, this is about me. The world revolves around me, because it doesn't, because it really doesn't. There's far more at work that is way beyond you than what you've got going on in your life, what you ate for lunch today, like your paycheck or the raise you're looking for, the fucking, your boyfriend or your girlfriend, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we recorded with Laird Hamilton, the king of the ocean, that guy. He's a big wave surfer. Nice. He lives just down the road from here. And a video is going viral at the moment of him talking, like, people ask me all the time, like, how do you know God exists? And he's like, just look.
Yeah, I mean, just like, come on now. Come on.
He's like, look at the plants, look at the ocean. He's like, look at people. He's like, just look.
Yeah. And come to a logical conclusion. Just a logical conclusion. A logical conclusion will tell you that you are so small and minuscule in comparison to whatever created all of this,
Yeah, I still haven't arrived there, and I didn't grow up in a Christian family, anything like this. I'm not deciding on that right now. I'm exploring it a lot. I ask a lot of my guests. It's weird. You look at every super successful person in the world, try and find one that has not got some relationship to a God, some version.
I don't think that exists.
You can't find them. And so, like, even though I grew up in a family that's not religious or has any relationship to God, they weren't into politics or anything. So everything after leaving home and everything I know has been kind of like forced learnt. I've had to learn it myself and like self-inflict the knowledge because it wasn't existent growing up. And so I'm still trying to arrive at something that I resonate with most. I definitely don't resonate with religion as a whole. And I like,
I don't like the word religion.
Yeah. Well, I just think what comes with that is a divide. It's Jews and us, Christians and us, Muslims and us.
What comes with that is legalism. Legalism is excessive adherence to the rules and regulations of a specific religion. And legalism is the dividing mechanism between Christians and other believers. And I believe that religion is the wrong word for my dynamic with God. And the right word is relationship. And I believe relationship unlocks a new dynamic and a new exchange and a new, type of energy that's exchanged. It's no longer a, like price for this, you pay this to get this. It's now it's just love, God loves me, and I love God, and what does the Bible say? To love God and love people, and that's how I see. I don't like religion. I don't like calling my relationship with God religion. You know what I mean? I believe that religion is just a term to, I don't know, it's almost a condescending term, or a term that damages the perception of what it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jesus liked religion either. I'm pretty sure it says that the biggest thing he hated was religion. Talk to me a little bit about this journey that you've embarked on, creating a brand, earning a bunch of money, and kind of like achieving what a lot of people would look at as like successful, I guess you could say. They see a lot of the stuff you post online, and they probably would naturally just put you on a bit of a pedestal and look up to you, the people that are probably listening to this, people that follow you. What's it been like achieving things that you've always wanted to achieve and achieving the pinnacle of what someone might deem as successful? How have you been navigating that?
It's lonely. It's a lot of gamification, and it's a lot of adherence to the circumstantial leverage that you have. I believe that reaching a point of success is, and success is very subjectively defined, right? Success is, often defined as money in the bank account, women at your waist, status amongst the men around you. And I believe those are all good indicators of achievement, but I think that success in general is very subjective, and I believe that fulfillment is where I find my success to be. And I believe that these things, these more meaningless kind of materialistic things, the money, the cars, the house, the business, whatever, those are all byproducts of pursuing what is fulfilling, right? And for me, that is living within that dynamic of what I feel my purpose to be, right? And for me, like, I believe that I play to my strengths, right? I like clothes. I love storytelling. I love creating. I love art. I love film. I love world building. I love, storyboarding, right? So for me, I leaned into a business endeavor that gives me the opportunity to do that in a way that makes money. And that's where I believe the fourth component of the Ikigai concept comes into play, right? And that fourth component is, does it make money, right? Do you love it? Are you good at it? Does the world need it? And does it make money? That fourth component, does it make money, is important to register and important to acknowledge, because without money, your tools and resources that you need to build something or achieve something is limited, right? And I don't like talking about money because I don't like the importance that today's world places on money. I really, 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 I hate the love for money that I see corrupting so many people. And I think that I've seen a lot of moral boundaries crossed with this hustle culture that you see, right? OnlyFans, for example, right? That is a very, oh, well, they're just hustling. Like, no, like, let's be real here. Like, you're doing damage, right? Let's talk about, go back to that, like, that purpose, right? That purpose dynamic. The biggest check mark there needs to be, does the world need this? Is this good for the world? Does this contribute to collective consciousness, right, in a positive way? And I believe that a lot of hustle culture removes that, right? Because it wants to remove the guilt that comes with not adhering to that. And they want to replace it with materialism, right? And that's because, our world today places so much importance, and they lean into the feeling of being appreciated that having nice things awards you in this world. Because this world is materialistic, and this world is it falsely defines worth and fulfillment and good.
Yeah, maybe even a powerful reframe for the Ikigai concept that's maybe a bit more liberating is swapping it out for a few different things. So instead of does it make money, can it make money? So you can actually explore the ideas, because a lot of the time, if we're trying to apply creativity to something, right? True creativity is maybe coming up with something that hasn't even been done before as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, does this new thing that hasn't been done before, can that make money?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
people might
I think
say
that's like beautiful right there.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. I love about one of my businesses. It's called Urban Unity, and Urban Unity seeks to basically aid creative people, not like people who are trying to make money, right? It's been built to aid creative people to build brands that serve people, right? Because what we teach, we don't teach ads, right? We teach community building, right? We teach art direction. We teach narrative building. We teach, storytelling. And like, for me, I've never seen like an education opportunity that like really leaned into that creative process. And I've been able to kind of like build out a curriculum. It took me like fucking 2-3 years to build that. Like, it works those creative bones in your body, those creative muscles in your mind and your body that I've never seen people do. So for me, like, if I can make money doing that, like, holy shit, like, that's amazing. And that's where I've really experienced that thing.
Yeah. So it's, yeah, I love this. This is like this element of, so if we tie into that Ikigai thing again, instead of does the world need this, does this serve the world? And so maybe we don't know that they need it. Maybe they're dormant to the fact that they need it because it's not been a thing yet. But if we add creativity onto something that's already been done, it can become a thing that is actually serving the world, but they don't know they need it just yet.
Yes.
So we've got like instead of does this make money, can this make money? So we explore the possibility of monetizing the thing that we really want to do. Mm-hmm. Does this serve the world instead of does the world need this, so that then we can see new ways that are not already a thing to enhance consciousness as a collective.
I love the reframe.
And the world.
I love that reframe. That's
and then
good.
Maybe we also have, am I good at this? Can I be good at this? Mm-hmm. Like if you're 5'7" and you want to be a basketball player, perhaps we reframe that. Maybe that's like you do have the possibility to be good at this thing? Yes or no? Maybe not. Like maybe just pick another sport. You can do it, but like your odds are not really in your favor. Like you're about to embark on a pretty hard journey with very little reward, because achieving what you want is wanting a lie, being 5'7", wanting to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
So can I be good at this is the other good frame. And if we have all of those, then it's basically taking that concept and applying it to creativity and magic and going like, can we create magic in the world if we apply all of these things that maybe we're not competent at right now or we've not discovered yet, but at least we can embark on the journey and find out?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the awareness is a big part of that. You care if I smoke?
Yeah, go for it.
I think awareness is a big part of that. I think that the understanding of what's realistic and what's not realistic is also important, right? I believe in delusional
optimism,
but I also believe in awareness. And I think awareness is a topic in and of its own.
Yeah, I think there's this element here. I love this conversation, by the way. The element here of people don't embark on the journey in the first place because they don't think they can do it. So there's a limiting belief that they have in themselves. So our ability to embark on the journey is the very thing that will give us clarity on whether we can do it or not. Like, don't think that before you embark on the journey, you're going to know if you can achieve it or not. Like, you need to have this willingness to take steps in the dark, having no idea if you can do it, to figure out if you can do it or not. And like too many people, I would say, write themselves off too soon because they just don't think they can right now. But of course you don't think you can right now. You've never done it. If you want to do something that's new in your life, you're going to go through a period of not knowing what the fuck you're doing.
I believe that a dark room sits in between every man and his dream. And I believe that people's fear to step into a dark room and feel around for the door handle that leads into the next room is what keeps them from getting to the next room. It's not the fact that the door doesn't exist. The door exists. Within that dark room, the door to their dream, the room with their dream, does exist. But the fear of walking around in a dark room is what keeps people from the room where their dream exists.
But what's the point, though, like, of not walking in the dark? Like, what's the point of having, like, imagine if someone said to you, I'm going to lay out the next 10 years for you. And every day for the next 10 years, you're going to know exactly what you need to do. It's crystal clear. How boring would the next 10 years be?
They would be incredibly boring.
Because you get up, you do exactly what you have on your to-do list in the exact minutes of the day because it's all mapped out for you. There's zero uncertainty and you just go through your day. How boring would that be?
Incredibly, which is why I don't understand the inaction. I don't understand inaction. I don't understand the unwillingness to step into the unknown. It's like, where's your childlike spirit? Where's your adventurous spirit? Where is your desire to discover? You know, I think that in and of itself is like a weird thing to think about. Like not having that has to be very, very, has to feel like the biggest handicap.
Yeah. Well, if you generalize it a bit more, that's just how most people live their lives.
Yeah.
Like they actually have the next 20 years planned out.
Which is crazy.
Which is like they actually have everything planned out. Like people wonder why depression's a thing. And I just go like, well, of course it is. You know what the next 2 decades looks like in your life. Of course you're depressed. Mm-hmm. There's zero magic. There's zero flexibility. There's zero, extreme challenge. There's zero uncertainty. Of course you're not really enjoying your life. Like you're kind of going through life and you know that, okay, I've just found this partner. This is great. She's okay, but I'm not fully sold on her, but I'm going to be with her because I'm scared of not being able to find someone else. Mm. So we're going to settle down there and then we're going to get 5 years down the line and we're 5 years into a relationship. We're either breaking up or we're getting married. So we may as well get married and you're probably not even truly in love. And then, okay, we get married and now let's make sure we have enough money so that we can have kids. Then we're going to have kids and we know, okay, we best start saving so we can put them into a nice school. And then, let's pay this house off. And like they know everything for the next 2 decades of their life. Of course their head hits the pillow and they go, I wonder if I made the most out of today. I wonder if this is how life should be. Mm-hmm. Like it's pretty normal to be questioning that if all you're doing is mapped out for you and there's nothing new in your life.
Yeah. And I think the whole discovery is like why I say it starts with discovery. Like this whole process of like finding success, finding fulfillment, finding your long-term partner, it starts with discovery.
Yeah, so discovery of yourself, not discovery of business. Like when you said the first step for your brand, it wasn't the first step of the actual brand creation. It was like kind of discovering yourself.
Yes.
To know what to create that aligns with that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. That's interesting. When you look at your life, would you say that where you are today is someone that you're proud of?
Yes.
Why so?
Because I know I'm on the right track. I know I'm on the track that God put me on. And I believe that I have come to an understanding that I'm going for it. And I think sitting in that position of like going for it is huge. And I believe that sitting on that, like knowing like, all right, I've gone this far, right? I'm going for the end of the world, right? Like looking back behind you and saying, oh shit, and now it's too far. Now it's too late to turn back now. You know what I mean? That feeling makes me proud. That feeling makes me feel like, okay, I'm in the right position. I'm in the right spot. I need to keep going, and obviously there's uncertainty ahead and obviously there's unknown ahead, right? But the feeling of knowing that you have overcome the unknown previously is really, really, really huge. And I think that that's something to be proud of.
Yeah, it definitely unlocks more trust in your life because you know that you've already been through something worse than what you of going through now, like things become easier. Would you say you have any regrets?
Do I have regrets? No, absolutely not. I have zero regrets. I have no regrets, and there's no point in having regrets. What does regret do for you? What is pondering with sadness over previous events in your life? What does that do for you? Does nothing. Does nothing for your future. Does nothing for now. There's no logical reason to have regrets, in my opinion.
You also can't actually have regrets if you're truly proud.
No.
Because everything that you've done, good and bad, has made you who you are today.
Yes, of course. And that's the beauty of it all. That's the beauty of it all. That's why the phrase that kind of I operate on and my brand operates on is that life, this journey is what I call the chaotic pursuit of an imperfect superior self. Not a superior self, not a perfect, polished superior self, an imperfect superior self, because that's what makes us human. That's what put every human, whether successful or not successful, in the position that they are. It's because they're imperfect, they're flawed, you know.
I want to commend you, dude. You're fucking great. You're just great. Like, I feel like there's an element of there's this element I see in you that you've got this you're not just like, here's what I'll say. Most people that have clothing brands are so narrow and deep. And so what I mean by that is, like, they know clothing, they know Shopify, and that's it. Like, they seem to just be like narrow and deep. Whereas you're quite broad and deep. Like, you know a lot of different things. Like, you're talking about the health and the anatomy and the body and how it works, and like you're sharing different lessons. And I think when I look at people that are a bit more broad and have achieved success in a narrow field, it's quite inspiring, because you've not just done one thing. You can tell that you've lived just by the way that you're talking. And I just want to commend you for that. And it's really inspiring, everything that you're doing and the journey that you've been on.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope to make positive impact. And at the end of the day, if I've made positive impact on somebody else, then I'm okay. It doesn't really matter, like, how my life ends. I mean, you think about people like Paul, right? Did Paul get married? No. Was he one of the most impactful, probably fulfilled people that ever walked the earth? Yes. So, as long as I can make an impact, I can encourage someone, I can bring light to someone's mind, I can inform someone, educate someone, inspire someone. That's my job.
Thank you, Marshall. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, of course.